Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna open up Shore, which is the most recent one that we were working on.
Oh yeah, we're working on the
Walrus.
Walrus.
And I'm going to leave you guys, I'm going to leave Chat and Logan to brainstorm about what some new shore based creature types might be with some portmanteaued names. You know, we're
Ooh.
talking seals, we're talking octopi, mollusks, crabs, starfish, sharks. I mean, I don't even know what you'd combine with a shark at the shoreline, but I'm sure it'd be scary. Or it could even be super innocuous.
The stream's about to get really boring, everyone.
No, no, no. Shh, shh, shh. Quiet, quiet. Uh, but I'll be right back. And thank you, Logan, for taking over.
Sadly, it doesn't look like there's anyone in chat right now to help me talk through this, but and I know you can't see my screen at all, but I'm actually going to go to a I can probably start by Googling, but I want a list of shoreline biome type creatures. Maybe even not all of them being shoreline. Because, I mean, from what you've seen or what we've talked about with our bestiary, with our forest creatures, what aren't pulled up right now, we've gone through the combination almost like, I guess, the Avatar Airbender series and all that. We've gone through for our monsters that we want them to be combination creatures. So we've got the bear orangutan, which is a bear orangutan cross, a kangarook, which is a kangaroo, and crossed with a rook, which is kind of like a crow-like bird. We've got platypustule, which is actually pretty gross. It's a platypus crossed with kind of like the pussy pustule, obviously. It's kind of pus-filled sores that you'd get on your body. He's a really gross, big old slimy duck-billed crap. We've got the wasp, which is probably my favorite creature just because it's a wasp and an asp in one creature, and I just think that's hilarious. And we've got our Terfoxel, which is a turtle fox owl, and I mean you can just imagine what most of them look like. They're crossbreeds. Terfoxel looks the funniest in my head to me. It's kind of like body of the turtle with wings and a fox head and a foxtail, and that's absolutely my favorite thing. But right now we're trying to do the shore, and before we already had a few ideas for creatures for the forest, but for the shore is just something we thought of and having. In a lot of RPGs, there are different monsters correlated to different areas of the map, and we really, for some reason, weren't thinking about that before. And so we figured that all those creatures we had before work in a swamp or forest, just a entrenched tree area. And when we thought of the Koalrus, we were like, this it's just not going to work in that same setting. So we had to think of an area where this creature would work, and we came up with pretty much the shoreline. Because I mean, when you think of walruses, they're always on their craggy beaches, and koalas are, on an island, Australia. I don't know specifically where they are, but we figured we could do something with that. So right now, I'm just going to be trying to think of what kind of creatures would work good together. Uh, Kirby did point out some good ideas for what kind of creatures: sharks, octopi, seals, and I think I want to do something with a seal. Maybe a seal or a seal with a lamprey or something like that. Just make something cute, really, really gross. I mean, they're both tube shaped, so I'm gonna look that up right now. I'm sorry you can't see my screen. It's kind of sucky. But if I stop talking, it's because I'm totally looking at pictures of seals and trying to figure stuff out. Maybe not with a lamprey. I could probably do something with an eel too. Big tubey snake mammal. Let's see. Could be the seal, which is probably going to be named in a fashion like the wasp, where it sounds silly and at the same time a little bit normal. And the more I'm looking at this, the more I like the idea of these two animals together, and the sheer. Because I'm not really. Eels aren't very terrifying. They're a little scary in the sense that snakes are scary, but I have seen some eels that look pretty cute. I mean, I'm sure you've seen pictures on the internet where eels are pretty like, oh hey, he looks like a real happy guy. Big old dumb faces. So maybe we can do something like that. Something I should mention. I don't know if we talked about this before. We might have with the Koalrus. He had the two modes, cute and wet, which were correlated to the way the grid is set up. Oh, hey, awesome. The way the grid is set up, in that the first two rows are beachy and the back row is water. So maybe if it was this creature occupied just the back part of the water, some kind of hunter. Yeah. Hey, I was thinking something like a seal mixed with an eel.
Yeah, I had you on stream downstairs. So,
Uh,
do you want to spell that SEEL?
oh, definitely.
I like that. I like that a lot.
I wanted to do. You probably heard like with a lamprey, seal a lamprey. But I figured that'd be a little too gross for how cute seals are.
Well, no. I think that's great. I mean, what we're trying to do is just take something that has pre-existing anatomy, so that Cody can grab the parts that he likes and combine them in whichever ways he sees fit.
I liked that the creatures I was thinking of were very tube shaped.
Tube shaped.
Eels, lampreys, seals. Seals are pretty tube shaped if you think about it.
They are, yeah.
They're nice and long.
Sort of pseudo cylindrical.
And I mean, when I was looking at seals, I was thinking more of the anatomy of a sea lion than a seal. Just because sea lions are more of a hunting. Of course, seals hunt, obviously, but they're more of a hunting thing.
So, do we want a seal or do we want an elian, or like I guess you would pronounce it elian?
Um, hmm. I know. I just like the way sea lions look over seals for a creature.
So you don't want to grab like you're not trying to grab the
They
grab
just
at the
get.
veins right now.
Yeah.
I don't know. What are you thinking for its design? Like, what kind of things would you want it to do?
Well, I was gonna have it in the back row in the water because eels. And I know there's the connection with electricity to eels, and seals are big, small hunters. If that made sense.
Mm-hmm.
They hunt smaller fish and animals. So I was thinking in a way, not really a mage type dealy, but more of like a archerish thing.
Okay, so maybe what would be cool is we have that terrain interaction on the platypus gill, where he can create like a slimy row, a murky row. Maybe it'd be cool if we could take the water biome and have it so that when these guys are in it, it's electrified and it's dealing damage to non seals. But if it does damage to them, then they get like a lightning buff on their attacks and
Mm.
affix. So it would work with the Qualrus. Qualrus would go to the back row, drop into the water, take some damage, and if it
While
killed
the
him, it killed him.
sealing.
Oh, sorry.
Was the walrus? I know he goes back there. Does he go back there to heal?
He goes
I
back there
forget.
to like heal, yeah, and become kind of like a hunter, and then he slams back forward once he's healed up enough. But this would
Oh
neutralize that healing part.
no! Wait a minute. So walruses have that thick, blubbery fat thing, right?
Uh huh.
Maybe he doesn't take damage from the electric, but when he goes back, the AOE is electric element. Since he's insulated nicely, he's not going to take the hit from that.
Okay, so electrifies water terrain, granting a buff, some kind of electricity stack, charge or something, a charge.
Ah, crap! I forgot that's how you spell that Pokemon's name. It's
Seal.
Seel.
All right, then we can do Elian. Eon plus Sealine. I feel like I'm making Pokemon.
Yeah.
So, electrifies water terrain, granting a buff and some electricity charge. Some electricity charge to allies that enter that zone. Enter or are inhabiting that row. This would be a passive, but also also deals damage. Deals damage to non-elect immune allies. I'm missing a word, and this would a passive bit. This would be a passive. Okay. That's interesting. So you're thinking you want to be sort of like an archer type?
Yeah, maybe his basic attack is that he just spits out not really like a ball, but like line, a solid line of electricity for his basic attack. So he's always doing electric base damage.
Hmm.
Maybe.
I
Or
don't
maybe not as
dislike
a
that.
basic attack. Maybe it's just an electric ball it can pop out as an ability.
What I'm trying to figure out is if we can make this sort of like if we can make these modular but like interconnected.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
So I'm wondering if we have electrifies water terrain as the first bit, how we can incorporate that into your idea of a basic attack. And when you were saying that, I was thinking, what if it were like chucking water at you and
Oh, what it can do is it'll splash in its row in the, not really like a splash, but almost like a small wave. And the wave goes over the allied team, the enemy team, over to the allies and hits like the front row.
okay, so it skips 2 rows and then hits the next row.
Yeah.
Wave which skips 2 rows, comma, and then hits the next for AoE can turn that row into watery terrain if used enough. Can also transfer.
So like 3 times probably.
Yeah, can transfer passive to other watery. Transfers passive. Here we go. Transfers passives damage to watery rows whenever it attacks to them. Attacks opponents. Oh god. Oh, we're in way over the limit of that line. Attacks opponents within them. We should also have one that starts in the back row and then like slowly pushes the water up.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe uh, depending on what creatures are in the battle, the terrain for the enemy side changes.
Something like move
There should always be at least one row of water.
the tide up.
Yeah.
Um, and encroaches. So then that will both begin procking the eels, can spread, having all connected watery terrain.
What if? Oh, man, dang, that's too Pokemon-y. Something along the lines of it can change the seal can or the Elion can change its position, like it dives underwater and goes to another watery area.
Um, goes to another watery area. Interesting. So
Like say for some reason it makes the first row of the ally line watery terrain, but it's not electrified. So he could go over there to an empty space in the front row and electrify it.
okay, so what about can move to the summon spaces
Mmm.
of watery rows? Why would it want to do that? If it's a ranged thing, what does it gain from doing that?
Well, like I said, my example was electrifying the front row. For some reason, it wasn't electrified while it was water terrain.
Okay, I see. So, right. So maybe. Okay, so hold on. Then hits next. All right. So wave which skips 2 rows, and can turn that row into watery terrain if used enough. But we'll get rid of this part. Let's see.
Because if his passive is that he's electrifying the water, that's something that's going to be happening all the time.
Well, what would be interesting is if we're doing this bit that you suggested about him moving to summoning spaces, then what we can do is we can take off like all that wave would need to do besides damage
Is make it into watery
is
terrain.
make it into watery terrain, and then he can just move to the summon spaces and
He'll electrify that row.
right, passive electrifies that row. So now we need a way of having this guy survive. For each watery row, comma, gains HP regen
1.
1 or something like that.
And that value can be determined when we figure out how much health it has currently and maximum and minimum amounts.
Yes.
Because I assume creatures are going to scale in level.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct. They might even have moves that unlock or abilities that unlock as they level up.
Mm-hmm.
Grow more powerful. I don't know. That'll be something we have to consider.
Or maybe it's not really that they unlock, but I know in Dragon Quest and Dragon Warrior games, sometimes the enemies will try to cast a move, but they just don't have enough base MP to do that. But a later iteration of that creature is able to use that move because it has enough MP because it's a higher level.
That's an interesting way of representing that. That kind of falls within the lore of the game. You know, because they try and cast it, but they just can't.
Yeah. And it could even be, and it's always beneficial to your team because, like, wow, he just wasted a turn.
I wonder how important each round will be, or how important each turn will be. If this will be a more of a slower pace, which I'm trying to avoid, or if it'll be
yeah, it's probably going to be really important every turn that something happens. So if something's not happening, that might be bad and not fun.
I suppose we'll see. We'll have to look and find out.